Right now in San Antonio, there are some areas that are already pretty pricey, and there's a lot of areas that have not been fully priced in yet. I have lived here my entire life, and I'm seeing lots of little pockets in and around San Antonio where the demand is going up. You've got lots of development happening between shopping, retail, restaurants, roads expanding, but the overall prices when it comes to real estate have not fully caught up yet to the demand and development that I'm seeing. In this video, I'm going to break down 5 of the areas in San Antonio where I see the most long-term value when you're looking at buying a new home in 2026. We're going to look at just the real data when it comes to the growth, pricing, and the demand lining up for solid opportunities when it comes to your next place to move to. First up is that Stone Oak area. So basically north of 1604 on either side of 281. It's established. It's been here since the 90s. It doesn't have a ton of new builds. And so that may lead a lot of people to think, well, why does this place have a ton of upside? Because of it being established, it doesn't have a ton of new construction options. You have a lot of potential where the demand is growing and growing strong and consistently been growing for years, but the inventory isn't growing there, right? The big driver in this specific area, of course, is the school. Stone Oak Elementary is an A rating for both 2024 and 2025. And then you've got, of course, Reagan and Johnson high schools, which are 2 of the top high schools in the state of Texas, quite frankly. This is a huge factor when deciding where you're going to move to, and that is leaving a ton of this growth in this Stone Oak area. Another big benefit to this location is that it is not super far away from everything. Stone Oak is right there on the edge of the city, so it makes getting into places like the medical center, like downtown, not that bad at all. You're talking a 30-minute commute roughly. And on top of that, the Stone Oak area is actually one of the what I would call the secondary medical center of San Antonio. So you have the main medical center that's down in town over in that Leon Valley northwest side, but Stone Oak has a ton of hospitals and big hospitals and growing hospitals as well. And when you're looking at the established nature of Stone Oak, when you compare to places like the southeast side, which we're going to talk about later, it's a very, very big different dynamic when it comes to long-term potential growth. And you look at the roads and everything. So 281 going up north through Stone Oak, going down into downtown San Antonio, was expanded within the last 5-7 years or so. And it was a huge relief to a lot of people in this area whenever this was done. And then you also look at that 1604 expansion that they're working on and have been working on for the last year or two so far. In the next coming years, once this project is done, they are projecting this to cut off 80 minutes of commute time for people that have to use 1604 regularly. So the big difference between going from Stone Oak to the west side of San Antonio is going to be huge whenever that's all said and done too. So when we're looking at why prices haven't fully caught up in this area yet, you're looking at a relatively higher priced area, but with a lot more affordable options still available. Median prices in Stone Oak is like the low 400s or so, with price ranges basically from 300,000 all the way up. You have multi-million-dollar houses in this area. When you're looking at Encino Park, you've got houses in that kind of low to mid 400s range, going up to 500,000-600,000 depending on how updated the house is. But comparing this, especially looking at the school district ratings, to an area say like Alamo Heights, which is more in town, right? Alamo Heights here, $600,000-$700,000 starting point for the most part, and then even same thing for like Chavano Park, Hollywood Park, that area, Hill Country Village. If you think of the way San Antonio is expanding, Stone Oak is kind of getting to be where Chavano Park, Hill Country Village, Hollywood Park was, just a couple decades ago. This area is best suited for people that like that rolling hills. You like the more established neighborhoods, lots of gated communities, so lots of HOAs. You do got to pay attention to those HOA dues. You also got to look at property taxes though, because as you get into those Stone Oak area, again, like everywhere else, once you're in the city limits of San Antonio, you're going to be in the higher range of the property taxes. There's several areas here that have an elevated property tax with a PID, a property improvement district, or MUD, municipal utility district. There's areas that have 2.5, 2.6% property taxes. On average, you're looking at about 2.2 to 2.3. Stone Oak isn't a play to get in on the ground floor at super rock bottom prices. You're not going to get new construction at a super affordable price here. You're getting in an area that's already established with really good schools, and you don't have to deal with a lot of development and construction going on around you. It's just more of, okay, get in, stay here, get comfortable, and then long term you're going to see solid appreciation because of the stability and the benefits that Stone Oak has. Now, if you really want to dive into all 5 of these areas a little bit more in depth with one of us one-on-one. My name is Michael McCall. I'm a real estate agent here in San Antonio. Run a team, the Life in SATX Home Group, and would love to help you guys, whether you're looking at moving here in 2 days or 2 years. Just want to explore the options when it comes to these 5 different areas we're talking about today. Reach out. You can schedule a call with us at any point in time at that link down in the description below. Would love to be a resource for any of you guys that are thinking of making San Antonio your future home. Now, we can't talk about long-term development and long-term ROI without talking about this area. So by 2050, the San Antonio-Austin mega region is expected to have over 8 million residents. And the central hub of this area between San Antonio and Austin is the wonderful city of New Braunfels. Now, New Braunfels went into 2026 in more of a buyer's market with inventory ranging in that 5 to 6 month range. So putting it right on the edge of basically that full-blown buyer's market. Prices here in New Braunfels are in those kind of low 300s range when you're looking at medians, but you have ranges all the way from low 200s, even a couple options in the 100s if you're looking at, older homes with need a lot more work, or even manufactured homes, all the way up to multi-million-dollar homes. Now, this sounds like a soft market without a whole lot of growth potential. Well, you might be overlooking a few things and why there is good ROI here if you're looking long term. So currently in the San Antonio-Austin mega region, there are 5.3 million people, and they're expecting by 2030 to be about 6 to 7 million of those. By 2050, they're thinking 8.3 million. So you have a drastic increase as far as the projections go for this entire region, and they got to go somewhere. And again, being New Braunfels is kind of the central hub of all of this with a lot of open space around it. That's where you can see a lot of the development that's happening. When you're looking at this region, you're looking at no state income tax for Texas, Texas being one of the most business friendly places in the entire country. You look at the education opportunities in these areas. So you have UTSA, University of Texas San Antonio, Texas A&M San Antonio, which is growing extremely quickly. You've got Texas State University right there in San Marcos. You've also got UT Austin. The hub of education is also going to bring a lot of, big employers to kind of recruit from the area, but also families who are looking for, opportunities for higher education for their kids to stay close to home. And you just got to look at the employment opportunities that are already popping up. Of course, you have Tesla, which is just exploding and taking over that Southeast Austin area. You've also got the new Samsung semiconductor plants that are going up, and all the tech opportunities that are happening in Austin. And then you look at the manufacturing that's coming into San Antonio and places like Seguin. That I-10 corridor in Seguin is just littered with big, huge manufacturing facilities. You've also got lots of master plan communities coming in these areas and bringing a lot of affordable options to new construction neighborhoods for people that are looking to get in this area without having to pay prices like you would have to in, say, Bernie or Boulevardia up on that north side of San Antonio that's already been developing for a long time. And a good, example of this would be looking at the Alamo Ranch area out on the far west side, which we're going to get to momentarily as well. Now, New Braunfels' big draw is that it has some amenities and some natural amenities that you cannot replicate anywhere else. This includes places like the Guadalupe River and Comal River. You've got Canyon Lake just north of New Braunfels. You've got areas like Lake Dunlap, Lake McQueen, Lake Placid, kind of going between New Braunfels and Seguin. You've also got Lambda Park, and you've got the historical amenities like downtown New Braunfels and Green, and then you've also got newer amenities such as Creekside and that awesome new community that's going to be Mayfair once it starts getting developed even more. When it comes to schools, New Braunfels ISD and Comal ISD both serve New Braunfels. New Braunfels ISD runs 16 campuses with 9,800 students roughly and over 96% graduation rate. And you've got tons of new schools that are popping up all over New Braunfels, with Long Creek High School, brand new high school for New Braunfels ISD, just opening up in the last year. One reason why I feel prices haven't fully caught up in New Braunfels is just because we're still very early in this mega region play, right? The San Antonio New Braunfels Metroplex is now what it is called, right? So that San Antonio and New Braunfels gap on 35 is definitely growing towards each other. You're kind of getting a less and less differentiation between the two areas. New Braunfels is an area best suited for people that are open to a long-term investment and are not wanting to try to turn and burn something in 2 or 3 years. Okay, so if you're buying these homes that are in these new construction neighborhoods and you're trying to sell them in a year or two, you're not going to make any money. In a lot of cases, you are going to lose money because you're not going to get this drastic increase in value that's going to make it worthwhile for you to try to sell the house for even what you bought the house for. So if you're looking at a place where you're not thinking you're going to be here in 2 or 3 years, maybe, you're military and you're, PCSing over to Randolph or to Fort Sam Houston if you want a little bit longer drive, you may be thinking that you're only going to have this house for a couple years. Well, maybe New Braunfels isn't the best place to look at. Maybe look at a more established place. But if you are thinking long term and wanting to hold on to this house for a decade or more, think of the growth potential that's going to happen when all of these people move into this area and what that's going to do for your overall investment in that period of time as well. Now, when we're talking about Alamo Ranch, you're going to be thinking of a place that, just 5 years ago felt like it was kind of far out of the way when you were looking at the overall San Antonio map. But now if you have been out there on that far west side of San Antonio, you know that in the last decade, that area has completely changed. You've got major shopping options. You've got HEBs all over the place. You've got brand new schools everywhere. You've got hospitals being built in multiple different locations. You've got, super affordable homes when it comes to looking at, $200,000, $300,000 homes, all the way up to luxury builders building out there on half-acre to 1-acre lots, some $900,000 homes, plus even, I've seen a couple $1 million properties being put up over there as well from some very high-end luxury builders in and around San Antonio. Now, you've got lots of price points, like I mentioned, but the median is still in that kind of mid 300s range. When you're looking inside Loop 1604, you're looking at a lot more affordable price points, in that kind of mid 200s range, considering looking at Westover Hills. And again, this area is kind of known for having new builds just everywhere. One of the reasons that demand is growing out here is, of course, because the development has finally caught up. You've got shopping centers everywhere. You've got the main Alamo Ranch shopping center that's, kind of a big hub for that area. Alamo Ranch itself is a mix of a bunch of different communities with, on average, about 20,000 people live in Alamo Ranch. But you look at the entire far west side of San Antonio as a whole, and you're looking at over 110,000 residents, which is been a double in population. Northside ISD does cover that far west side of San Antonio, and again, like I said, you got tons of new schools that have gone up all over the place too. Those schools have driven a lot of the people to be very interested in moving out there to that area as well. But of course, the biggest reason, in my opinion, why this far west side has been growing and will continue to grow, one is the location for the amenities and the employers as well. So you look at Lackland Air Force Base, which is, the biggest Air Force base in the San Antonio area. You've got tons of military out there on that far west side, and you've got a lot of people that are commuting into that medical center, which is right there just on the inner northwest side of San Antonio. So it's much easier to get from that far west side to get there, especially if you're looking at being on the outskirts and more of a new construction area, because all the stuff is kind of inner, Loop 1604 on the inner side of San Antonio. You're not going to get a whole lot of new construction options, so you have to be on that far west side to be within kind of a decent commute. In my opinion, similar to what we talked about with Stone Oak and how the established area is going to see better long-term appreciation, I think that the far west side, given all the new construction that's out there, is in that kind of early stage like Stone Oak was not too long ago. You think in the next 10 to 15 years, that Alamo Ranch area is going to be similar to what Stone Oak currently is to this day. Overall, as the far west side gets more and more established, that long-term appreciation is going to continue to grow. This area is great for first-time buyers. It's great for people that are looking at a more affordable entry point. And of course, you're looking at military and medical professionals that are looking to be close to those two areas that we've already talked about. That far west side is prime for you guys. Whenever we're talking about negatives out there, I would, of course, mention the traffic. The traffic itself is going to be the biggest downside and the biggest thing to watch out for. And I've had a lot of people that are looking out in this area and are trying to figure out ways to be on the edges of these areas so that they are able to, kind of avoid the traffic and kind of going around these areas, and specifically being able to, avoid Calabria, Petranco going into San Antonio from there. I've heard of people sitting at those lights for, 20-30 minutes plus just to go a mile or two. I mean, it's not something that anybody ever wants to deal with. I know that me personally would never want to deal with, and I try to avoid being over there in those rush hour traffic time periods at all costs. Now, when it comes to looking at areas with a lot of new construction neighborhoods going up in the very early stages of development for an entire location, you look at builders like Perry Homes, Chesmar, Meritage that are all building homes in this one area, but they just recently started building homes in this area. To me, that shows the long-term potential of this area, especially when you can still get homes for under 200,000. And this is an area we're talking about, and that is the southeast side Converse area of San Antonio. Now, I know a lot of you, especially you guys in San Antonio, may think that I'm crazy for talking about this, but this area historically has been, again, it's the intersection between 1604 and I-10 and south of that, right? Out there in that area, just big, flat, open. There's a couple neighborhoods that's gone up in the last 10 years or so. Nothing really crazy. It's just been a super affordable place for people to buy a house. It's a little bit longer commute, but the affordability is there because the prices of land and the location is just not as ideal. Well, you look at the growth that this area is experiencing. When you drive down 1604 south of I-10, there is neighborhoods going up every which way you look. There's apartment complexes going up. They're starting to do even more shopping centers and strip malls and things in different locations. Randolph Air Force Base being not that far from here, and a lot of the industrial development that is on that kind of south side and that inner east side of San Antonio. You're looking at a very heavy environment of those kind of lower medium price point homes all the way up to those mid-tier $400,000-$500,000 price point homes in an area that's kind of a convenient location to get into San Antonio. This is what people saw whenever they started developing the far west side, again, a couple decades ago. This is how this area felt, was, very similar to this. So you look at the long-term growth. I mean, again, we're kind of taking this in stages, right? We went Stone Oak, far west side, and then Converse, and those are kind of the three levels of this development of these big areas in and around San Antonio, with very, very different areas of town, right? Most of these areas feed into, like East Central ISD, you've even got Judson ISD, and a couple outskirting areas kind of around I-10 can feed up into Church-Cibolo, Universal City ISD. So school districts themselves have some work to do, especially when you look at Judson and East Central. Ratings are not as high as some of the other ones we talked to. Church-Cibolo Universal City is a higher rated district when it comes to looking at the overall San Antonio market, but the schools themselves are not really what is driving a lot of this growth. In my opinion, it is the affordability. This is the same case on the far west side, and you look where it's at now with all the development that's happened over there. So this area is going to need some time to kind of experience the full development and allow that growth to really catch up, and it's going to take these school districts some work to get up to those higher rankings and those higher ratings, such as the Church-Cibolo Universal City School District has. This area is prime for people that are looking to get up to Randolph Air Force Base and easy commute up to those areas, even kind of working at some of those manufacturing and industrial warehouses and facilities there on that inner east side. Also getting down to the south side, whether you're looking at moving or working at Texas A&M San Antonio, or even in any of those new medical centers or medical facilities that are being built down there, such as that new University Hospital right there by A&M San Antonio. This would be a good spot for a very low entry point when it comes to prices, to be able to get a very nice new home, and be within an easy drive of either one of those places. Again, distance is the biggest downside, but it's not as bad as you might think. It's really not far to get to downtown from this area. Again, getting up to Randolph or even to the south side at A&M San Antonio, I mean, it's a drive, but it's not nearly as bad as, say, if you were commuting to any of those places and trying to live in, say, the far west side or Stone Oak, right? Now, it is very important when you're looking at super affordable new construction homes to look at quality, and I highly recommend everybody do a lot of research on each individual builder that you are looking at buying with, and you can reach out to our team. Again, we have experience with every single one of these builders and can tell you all the good, bad, and ugly stories when it comes to each and every one of them, and give you our recommendations for some of the neighborhoods to focus on. Now, as with any big development discussion, when we're talking about a $3.5 to $4 billion investment in an area, a brand new arena for an NBA basketball team, all kinds of new, convention centers, and you got the Alamo Dome, you got the Riverwalk, you've got everything downtown, right? Project Marvel is going to drive a lot of growth in that downtown area. And let me be clear, we're not talking about the tourism here. We're talking about the neighborhoods where people that would want to live in and around these hubs, whether it's for, just convenience to all the amenities that are coming to San Antonio and all that they already have, or the simple fact of the growth in the downtown area is going to just bring a lot more desirability to an area, and a lot more potential for investment to both the residential areas, in addition to all these big commercial and industrial and large scale investments that we've already talked about a lot on this channel. King William, Southtown are already kind of a higher price point anyways. You look at kind of the low mid 400s as far as like entry points, and exceeding well above 500, 7, 8, 900, even multi-million dollar homes in this area as well. There's a lot of history here, and there's going to be a lot more historical significance to these properties, especially once the desirability of what is coming to downtown San Antonio takes full shape. Back in November of 2025, you had that $311 million proposal that was approved by the Bexar County voters to go towards that San Antonio Spurs Arena. They're looking at starting that in the next, few months, ideally with, about a 5-year build time frame. There's also a lot of mixed-use development that will be surrounding this new Spurs Arena, and that is, of course, especially given the location of it being right there in downtown, is going to drive a lot of business into that downtown market. You've also got that Henry V. Gonzalez Convention Center expansion that they're discussing, which is nearly $1 billion on its own. Hopefully that land bridge can resurface, and that will happen because that will completely change the dynamic of this entire area. When you look at all of this growth that's happening in and around downtown San Antonio, this is what makes King William and Southtown so appealing for future potential, in my opinion. You've already got a lot going on in and around that area. You've got Blue Star Arts Complex, you've got lots of shopping, restaurants, and things that kind of scatter that southern section of downtown. But overall, when you look at this growth of downtown San Antonio, it's happening on that southern edge of it. This is going to start getting things a lot closer to that, Southtown and King William areas. As the development starts happening, you're going to have some, I would say some slow times when you're looking at the construction, and dealing with all the construction in this area is not going to be something people are wanting to deal with. But the investors that are thinking long term are the ones that are going to start working on these areas very, very quickly. They're going to start building, kind of the smaller developments in and around that can happen quicker, so that they're done by the time the big developments are done. They want to get in on the ground floor, try to get some of those properties as quickly as they can, so that they can make them what they want, so that they're ready to go and operating at full capacity whenever the big developments have completed and are bringing tens of thousands and millions of people to San Antonio on a yearly basis. The big plus for this area is going to be a lot more walkability. You're going to have something that San Antonio hasn't really historically had, with a downtown area that is kind of shaping an entire, residential market of San Antonio. It's there now, but it's in, it's definitely not as appealing as, it possibly will be. And that is going to be a big driver for the residential growth in these areas. You're talking young professionals, people that are just kind of into having that inner city culture that historically maybe San Antonio hasn't really had a whole lot of. So you're going to have a lot more interest from a different variety of buyers than are people that would have historically looked at San Antonio. But of course, you also have to be careful in which location you're looking at. Each area is very, very different, and a couple blocks away from one location can completely change what the dynamic is of that residential real estate market. So you really have to focus on making sure you're buying in the right spot, because you may think you found a deal at $150,000 house, but there's a reason that house is $150,000 and not, a $300,000-$400,000 house in Southtown. Now, all 5 of these areas are very, very strong long-term investment plays, in my opinion, but for very, very different reasons, as we spoke about. So if you guys are interested in making this move or discussing this move at all to San Antonio, reach out to one of the people on my team. I would love to kind of connect you guys and make sure that you are really getting educated with everything that you need to know about this area, whether it's, construction experience, which we all have, whether it's, just local knowledge of being here for decades, whether it's, just helping hundreds of people just like you move to San Antonio. That is what our sole focus is making sure that you guys are taken care of, no matter what it is that you need. So schedule a call with us at any point in time. You can shoot us an email, text, call, whatever is easiest for you guys. Our information is down in that description below. And always will be. So would love to have those discussions with you guys as soon as you're able to reach out to us. Also, if you are interested in looking at some of these suburb areas of San Antonio, take a look at this video right here where I broke down my top 10 for 2026. It is a huge list of a lot of different reasons why you may consider some of these different places, such as Alamo Heights, or even more details about New Braunfels and Bernie. But until the next one, guys, we'll see you there.